Home Measurement Fundamentals is brought to you by the Winston-Salem Regional Association of Realtors and Piedmont Federal Savings Bank. In the first video of the Home Measurement Fundamentals series, we reviewed the characteristics necessary for spaces in a home to count as living area. Recall that only living area is included within the square footage of a home. In the second and third videos, we looked at the process and techniques used to measure ranch and split-level homes. In this video, we move on to a 1 1/2 story home. These are sometimes called Cape Cod designs. The fundamentals and process are the same, but the techniques for measuring the home are more involved. There are also a few tricks of the trade which can make the process more efficient and more accurate. Let's get started. One challenge that sometimes arises with 1 1/2 story home measurements is that the second floor is not considered or measured. Depending on the placement of the second story windows and dormers, it might not be obvious that the home has a second story. That's all the more reason to begin the process by walking around the outside of the home, looking for architectural details that will affect the home's measurement. After the review of the outside of the home, the inside is toured. It is best to do the exterior and interior reviews of the home before any measurements are taken. Take notes during the review process. While walking the perimeter of the home, a garage is seen that will need to be measured and its square footage subtracted from the living area of the home. On the front of the home, there is a window in the gable over the garage and a dormer over the front porch. Both indicate that the home has a second floor. The tour of the inside of the home will allow you to further review that second floor. There are also windows in the gables on either side of the home. This is further evidence of the second floor. This also indicates that the length of the second floor will be equal to the length of the first floor. Again, a tour inside the home will confirm this. The back of the home has a screened porch integrated with the architecture of the home. You will measure this area for the listing notes for the home, but this area will not be included in the living area of the home as it is not heated or finished. Back around front, the double front doors, often called French doors, are inset within the home. In order to achieve an accurate measurement, the square footage of that inset or recess will be subtracted from the living area of the home during the measurement process. It's time to tour the inside of the home to confirm some of the assumptions that were made outside and to get an understanding of the areas of the home that meet the living area requirements. The first floor of the home meets the living area criteria, except for the garage and screened-in porch that were seen outside. The stairs that lead to the second floor have a closet underneath, which is within the living area of the home. As such, the closet square footage will be included within the living area of the first floor, and the square footage of the stair area included with the second floor. Once upstairs, it is clear that the windows on either gable end of the home are within the living area of the home. This confirms that the length of the home on the second floor will be equal to the length on the first floor. This is an important observation and will aid the measurement calculation process. The dormer and the window within the gable on the front of the home are both inside of unfinished attic space. These architectural details underscore why the second floor of story and 1/2 homes are sometimes missed if a false assumption is made that dormers seen from the outside are within unfinished attic space. For this home, the dormer and window within the front gable were both within unfinished attic space, but a second floor was present running down the center of the second floor. With a good understanding of the architecture of the house, it's time to measure the home. Back outside, begin sketching and measuring the exterior walls of the home. Remember that the square footage of the home is based on exterior measurements. Begin at one corner of the home, measuring the length of each exterior wall. Record each measurement on your sketch and double-check each measurement. Irregularities in the walls of the home, such as gutter downspouts and architectural features, may require you to measure the lengths of the walls in sections and add those amounts together in order to get full measurements. Work your way around the home, measuring each wall, recording your measurements on your sketch. Round off measurements to the nearest inch or nearest tenth of a foot if you are using a tape measure with increments in tenth of a foot. Before going inside the home, measure the garage space. Those measurements are taken within the garage. Using a laser distance meter is an efficient way to get these measurements. Be sure to add 6 inches or half a foot to the length and width of the measurements to account for the thickness of the exterior walls. The sketch and measurements on the first floor, including those for the garage, looked like this. Now it's time to go inside and measure the second floor. Our tour of the home revealed that the length of the second floor is identical to the first floor, but the width is significantly more narrow than the first floor. This is the very definition of a story and one-half home. As the second floor space is measured and sketched, it becomes apparent that the second floor is not a perfect rectangle in shape. Work your way from room to room to gather the measurements needed to sketch the varied dimensions and shape of the second story. It will be necessary to start on one side of the second story and measure each room until a sketch of the space is completed with sufficient measurements to calculate the square footage of the living area. Remember to add 6 inches or half a foot to each end of a measurement to account for the thickness of the walls. With a story and one-half home, it is often helpful to look inside of the unfinished attic spaces to see if the outside walls of the finished space continue to the ends of the home. This allows you to have a view of how the outside walls of the finished space are configured without all of the obstructions presented by the interior walls that break up the interior space. For this home, looking inside of the unfinished attic space on the back side of the home allows you to see that once the back wall of the home returns 4.7 feet, the wall has a right angle and continues unobstructed in a straight line to the other end of the home. Since we already know that the length of the home is 40.2 feet, the length of the interior wall that was just measured can be subtracted from the overall length of the home to determine the length of the back wall of the home seen inside of the attic. The length of that wall can also be double-checked by measuring its length from the inside of the attic using a laser distance meter. Either way, the length of the wall is 25.7 feet when the 6 inches or half of a foot is included to account for the thickness of the exterior wall. The next area to be measured is obstructed by interior walls. Take measurements from the back of the home to the front. Add those measurements together, along with 6 inches for the wall that divides your interior measurements, as well as 6 inches for each exterior wall to be included in your total width. Continue this process throughout the second floor until you have the measurements of the exterior perimeter walls of the second floor that support the sketch you have drawn. Once your sketch and measurements are complete, compare the overall lengths and widths of the home with their opposite wall lengths and widths. The measurements should allow the walls of the home to form an enclosed space. This is a good way to check your overall measurements of the home. Taking reference photos outside and inside of the home is a good practice, so those can be reviewed as needed and used to support the overall measurement project. File those with your sketches and notes at the end of the project. Back at your office, transfer your sketch details and measurements to graph paper along with your notes about the areas which will be included in living area and those which will not. Now it's a matter of breaking down all of the measurements into rectangles, multiplying the length and width of each rectangle which is to be included in the living area, and adding those together for a total. There is no set way to divide up the sketch into rectangles. Do what works best and most efficiently for the home you are measuring. The sketch and resulting drawing of the first floor of the home looked like this. The square footage of the screen porch will not be included, so it can be ignored in this process. The first floor divides well into 2 rectangles. Multiply the length and width of those 2 rectangles to get the area of each. Then, multiply the length and width of the garage and the inset area in front of the door. Both of those amounts are subtracted from the area of the first 2 rectangles, arriving at 1,823.9 square feet. The sketch and resulting drawing of the second floor of the home looked like this. That space can be divided into 3 rectangles with the length and width of each multiplied to get the area of each. Adding those amounts results in a second floor square footage of 922.5 square feet. Combined with the first floor, this home has overall square footage of 2,746.4 square feet, which you can round to 2,746 square feet. Within the listing details for the home, the first floor and second floor are shown separately. If you are completing the additional portions of the MLS form for the home, use your notes regarding details such as the garage and screen porch and their dimensions, as well as the other features of the home. Your reference photos will provide a good backup for completing these details within the MLS or CMA document. You now have an accurate and well-supported measurement of this story and one-half home that will help homebuyers, real estate professionals, and others to make correctly informed decisions about the home. In the next video, we will measure a two-story home that includes some challenging details, such as spaces that are open from the first floor to the ceiling of the second floor. Watch the next video to continue to expand your understanding of the important details in the process of measuring homes. Home Measurement Fundamentals is brought to you by the Winston-Salem Regional Association of Realtors and Piedmont Federal Savings Bank. Live local, bank local.